Hey, welcome in everyone. I've got a very special video for you today. Pretty much every single video that I film for the Pragmatic Works YouTube channel, the idea comes from real life virtual mentoring sessions that I do with my customers. But in today's video, you're going to actually get to witness a real live virtual mentoring session with one of our customers. Mark, Ron, and John were kind enough to be willing to be filmed so that our hundreds of thousands of subscribers can benefit from the topics that they need help with on their solution. Today, we're going to be talking about topics related to Power Pages, Power Automate, some Dynamics stuff as well. If you're here and you're not a subscriber, what are you waiting for? We put out 4 to 5 videos per week, all focused around the Power Platform, Power BI, Fabric, and data engineering. Anyways, that's enough for the intro. Kick back, relax, and enjoy this recorded virtual mentoring session with one of our real life customers. Hey, Ron.
Hey, guys.
Hey, John.
Hey, Ron.
You have your pocket Grizz behind you, Nate? Just I want to make sure you got your pocket Grizz. Oh, yeah.
So,
Did I tell you that you were required to put that back there?
no, you didn't, but I did it anyways.
Okay.
Actually, so I don't know if we'll include any of this or not, but I set an alarm on my phone this morning before I came to work, before I knew I'd be leaving, and it said, grab the pocket Grizz.
Good for you.
So thank you both for joining. Thank you so much for allowing us to record this session. Hopefully, I think it's going to help a lot of other people that watch our YouTube videos just with some Power Pages stuff, some Dataverse stuff, and just to give people a glimpse of what a virtual mentoring session looks like. So we are really excited that you agreed to let us record this. For anyone that doesn't know what a pocket Grizz is, so I was lucky enough to go visit Mark and Ron and John in Montana about 1.5 years ago when we were first working on this app. So Ron, could you, this is obviously not live, this is being recorded for later, but tell the folks a little bit about what a pocket Grizz is.
It's a good luck charm for the University of Montana Grizzlies and their chief opponent, the Montana State Bobcats, do not have a pocket Bobcat. There's no such thing. just for the record.
But we do have pocketgrizz.com.
Yeah.
So
you can find them in Arizona, Mexico, Bynum, Montana.
And how many pocket Grizzlies do you have, Ron?
A couple hundred. Getting ready for the season.
well, I will forever feel honored that you bestowed a pocket Grizz upon me, and actually one for each of my kids too. So, and my grandma.
And your grandmother. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it. So typically with these virtual mentoring sessions for people tuning in via YouTube, we'll have someone share their screen and just kind of walk us through any challenges that they're having or things they're trying to set up. So I guess we can go ahead and just dive right into it. So Mark, do you want to share your screen and tell us what are we working on here today?
Sure. So I think the first issue is we want to set up a trigger email anytime a grant applicant submits an application into our app. We want to get an email notification going to our colleague Diane.
Okay.
So that's the first item on the list.
All right. So here's the website. So this is where someone would log onto the portal and create a application. And do we want to monitor the status? Because I know with the applications, the applicant can save something for later. So do we want to trigger this when the application is actually submitted versus just saved?
Yeah, I just want it submitted.
Okay. So if you could, let's open up your solution in your other tab.
So I think I need to go to the dev environment, don't I?
Yes, definitely. Now, just trying to think ahead here before we even start this, the email that goes to Diane, who's going to administer the data in a model-driven app behind the scenes, what do we want to put in that email? Do we want to put a link to the app that she can click, a link to that record in the app? What do we want to include for her?
Yeah, I think a link, just a notification, you have a new application submitted, and then a link that goes to that application, I think would be good.
Okay.
For now, at least.
Sounds good. And since we're doing this in dev and then you want to migrate this to production, some of that will create some environment variables for us so that you don't have to switch things in that automation once it gets created. Once the solution loads up here, first thing, can you go to the apps in your objects and hit the 3 dots on grants management, and then let's play the app. In this environment, this URL is going to be different from the app that Diane actually is going to need to open.
Because the app she'll open would be in the prod environment.
In the prod environment, exactly. So we don't want to like hard code a URL in our email because it's going to be going to a different app in prod, like you said. What would she be going to? Would it be the grants?
Yeah, so I guess in my mind, when she hits that link, it would take her to the grant record that was just submitted.
So just so we can grab that URL, can you click on one of these records? So click on one of these grant numbers.
Okay, we'll do my test organization here.
So our URL is going to be obviously in your URL. Can you go copy that? Perfect. And go back to your solution. And let's create a new object in this solution. We're going to create an environment variable, something that's going to change from environment to environment. So go to new at the top.
Here?
Yep.
Okay.
Go to more at the bottom. And then it's the 4th or 5th one down, environment variable. And let's call this grant management app. And then the data type is going to be a string or text. And then if you scroll down, let's assign a current value. So we won't set the default value, but we'll set a current value and then paste what's on your clipboard into that text input right there. Now, some of this stuff we don't need, like this ID starting with 64E, that's the GUID of the record you just opened up in the dev environment, if that makes sense. So get rid of everything after the equal sign.
Like that?
Yep. And then click save.
So what is this doing?
So in the dev environment, the base URL to open up your model-driven app to the grants page is that URL. And then in our flow, we're just going to put in the ID of the application that was just submitted. So that way, when you go to move this solution to your prod environment, you're not going to have to go back into the flow and change the URL that gets sent to Diane. It's going to do that automatically when you import the solution. It's going to ask you, oh, hey, what's the URL for this app in production? You change it one time, and then anywhere else in your solution that references that variable will automatically update for you.
Okay.
So it's just a way to make the ALM process a little bit simpler.
Okay, and that got saved right here, it looks like.
Yep. So now that we have that, let's create the automation so that we can actually send a record to Diane when a application is submitted. It'll be helpful to have the solution open while we're building the flow. So can you right click on this tab, this browser tab, and just duplicate it? All right, now in this tab, go up to new, and we're going to do an automation and then a cloud flow and then an automated flow. And then give this a name. We'll call it whatever you want, but something like, application submitted, notify Diane. And you can always change the name later too.
All right.
So now what is the trigger? What's going to trigger this automation?
When the grant applicant hits submit on their grant.
Okay. And since they're using a Power Page, all of the data is stored in Dataverse. So search for Dataverse for your triggers. And we want when a row is added, modified, or deleted, that third option there. And then click create. Now, in reality, we don't want to run this anytime a record is added, modified, or deleted. That's just the name of the trigger. We can specify the actual change type. So we really only want to run this when a record is, added or modified, because they could be creating the application and submitting it all in one sitting. Am I right about that? Or
yeah.
Actually, when they're creating a record, Mark, can you go back to the portal? I just want to check one thing. Can you preview the site?
They could save an application before they submit it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't necessarily be the creation.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out now. So could you sign in? So Ron, what we're trying to figure out is, can they submit, save a record for the first time and have it be submitted? But I don't think they can, because if memory serves correctly, this is a multi-step form. All right. And then can you go to apply for a grant? So what I can tell from this screen here is that this is a multi-step form. If you scroll down, there's nothing on this first tab that has to do with the status of the record. So that means our flow is only going to run when a record is modified. When they first submit it, when they get past this first tab, that's when it's going to insert the record. And at that point, there is no status, or it's just saved. It's not submitted yet. Thank you for walking me through that. So can you go back to the flow? So our trigger, the change type is just going to be when a record is modified.
And specifically modified to say submitted.
Exactly. Yep. We're going to get to that next. So which table is it?
The grants table.
Okay. And then the scope would be organization. Now, the select columns, that next parameter, this allows us to tell this flow to watch a particular column to see if that column changed. Go to your previous browser tab and go to the tables, and let's go to the grant table. And which column will say submitted?
I think the easiest way to do that is actually to look at the form that they would be using.
Okay.
I think it might be called like submission status or something.
Application submission status. Can you go back now up in the top left?
I'm just trying to think about this because they'll change that field to submitted, but then they need to hit like an actual submit button. Mm-hmm. And that's where when they hit that button is when it gets submitted.
Right. But that field does not say submitted. That field at this point probably still says saved. So let's go to that last tab and see what it says here.
So they'll hit submit there and then they hit done. And that's when it gets submitted, I guess.
So can you go to the first browser tab?
So can we do it when they hit done?
No, we want it to be based off of the field itself, the value in that column, as opposed to any button click or anything like that. Because it doesn't save the record until they click done. So they can hit that drop down and change it to submit, but if they walk away, it's not going to trigger our flow.
Okay. That was my concern, but you're right. It wouldn't save it then. Okay. So
your first browser tab and go back to the table. So hit the back button in the top left.
Okay. And yeah, the table columns application submission status.
Okay. What we need is the logical name for that column.
Okay.
Yeah. Go to grant and then columns. And then click the three dots next to application submission status. Go to advanced and then tools and then copy logical name. Now go back to the flow, paste in what's on your clipboard on the select columns. So this allows this flow to just watch for modifications on that column specifically. And then if you go down to the filter rows, the next parameter, that's what allows us to say, okay, that column needs to change and it needs to change to this particular value. So paste what's on your clipboard again and do space EQ, which is OData speak for equals, and then space. And now since that column is a choice field, we can't just put in equals submitted. We have to put in the numerical value that represents submitted. So go back to your first browser tab again, click on that column, and then we want to edit this column. So over on the right, it'll tell us the option set being used. And this is actually just not a global choice. So we have saved is 0 and submit is 1. So that's easy enough to remember. Just go back to your flow now and do equals 1. Perfect. So what this trigger is saying, this flow will run when the submission status column is modified and it's modified to a value of submit. If all of that is true, then all we want to do is send Diane an email letting her know that there's a new grant submitted.
That's great.
All right, so let's do a new step. And for right now, we might want to add more to this later, but let's do send an email V2 with the Outlook connector.
Okay, what do you want me to put? What do I click?
Just search for send an email, and then you'll see an action. It's called send an email V2.
Here?
Yep, perfect. Now it's just creating the connection. Perfect. Now we just specify who this email is going to. This part's easy because it's just going to go to Diane every time, right?
Is there a way to dynamic or to change that programmatically so that if we had somebody else that was going to go, we could replace?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where right underneath the to parameter, you see where it says add dynamic content. Mark, if you click on that, that'll show you all of the dynamic outputs from previous steps in the flow. So Ron, if you had like a matrix table somewhere, something that showed all of the, administrators of your application, or if you wanted to add a step before this and you wanted to look at your Entra ID or your Active Directory and find anyone that's part of a particular security group or anyone that's part of a particular office group and then send this email to them, you would just insert a step before this to get the members of that group. And then in this send an email action, you would send it to all of those people with this dynamic content here.
Okay.
But this one's just kind of easy because right now it's just going to Diane. You might want to look into future-proofing that and maybe like determining by a security role or by a group membership and then send it programmatically that way, like the way you're thinking. All right, so the subject would also be pretty easy, new grant submitted. And then what would you want to put in the body of the email, Mark?
I don't know. You have a new grant?
Yeah. For right now, we can just put, here's a new grant, and then we'll put the link to the grant.
Yeah, we'll edit this later.
Could we put the grantee's name in there? We put the submitter's name in there?
I like it.
You have a new grant could we put dynamic content in there that puts the grantee's name?
How is the grantee stored in the grant table? Is it a lookup to the grantee table or lookup to the accounts? Do you remember?
Accounts.
I mean, they're stored in the accounts table. The grantee table is from the account table.
Got you. Okay. So can we add a new step before this sending of an email? First, we need to go find that account. So insert a new step and we want to get a row from Dataverse. So search for get a row by ID. And it's not from a selected environment, but just from, that next one, get a row by ID. Perfect. And then find the grantee or the account table, right? And then the row ID, if you go to dynamic content and search for the column that looks up to the account table. So what is the name of that column? Is it grantee?
Can we go take a look? I don't remember. Sorry.
Easy way to find this, Mark, is if you just go up to the top of this page.
Probably right here, right?
That's probably it right there. Yeah. Can you click on that?
Right here?
Yeah. And let's just make sure we had this table schema right. So click on that and let's see what table that looks up to. And that looks up, just like you guys thought, to the account table. So that's right. All right. So in your flow, we need to tell Power Automate a GUID in order to find that account in the account table. So in your dynamic content, search for grantee, and you see the one that says grantee parentheses value. Yeah. That's the GUID of the account tied to that grant. So select that. And then if you go down to your send an email action, go to the body of the email. And now in your dynamic content, we'll have all the outputs from when we got the account. So if you scroll down, we should see account name right there.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
That's really nice.
Perfect. And then if you want, just hit enter a couple times and type click here to view this application. Perfect. Now we need to actually make that word here a hyperlink. And the problem, like up in the top right of this, you see that little chain icon? We can set a hyperlink right there. The problem is we can't dynamically set it, I don't think, unless they've changed something. So what we need to do is kind of compose our own dynamic hyperlink using the GUID of that submission. So if you go again up before you send this email, and let's add another step.
Right here?
Yeah. So add an action and then do a compose action. And then for the inputs, we're going to write some HTML here because the bodies of emails are HTML. So the way we do a hyperlink in HTML is with an anchor tag. So if you do click in there and do a less than symbol and then lowercase a and then space, sorry, my HTML is rusty, and then do href, href.
href.
Yeah. And then equals, and then in double quotes. For right now, can you just save your flow? Because one thing we don't have in our dynamic content that we're going to need are the environment variables. Because part of this hyperlink is going to be the environment variable that we set up at the beginning of this call. And then the other part of this hyperlink is going to be the GUID of the record. But for some reason, when we start creating a new flow, it doesn't give us access to the environment variables. So if you just hit the back arrow in the top left, that blue back arrow, and then go down to cloud flows on the left. And then that last one, submission, notification, email, go ahead and click the 3 dots and then edit. All right, and go to our compose action and then put your cursor right there. And then you see on the right, there's all the variables in your environment. That top one is the one we created at the beginning of this. So the grant management app. Yeah, that's the one we want.
Okay.
Now,
That's the GUID. That's the GUID for the grant.
no, that's the URL for the grant management model driven app with like the entity type and all the parameters we need. The only other thing we need to add to this is the GUID of the submission or the submitted record. If you go up to dynamic content,
Do I need to close these quotes?
not yet, almost. So go to your dynamic content and search for grant. Because we're looking at the grant table, we need the GUID of the grant record. So it's that first, that's your unique ID for the record that was submitted. Now close your quotes and close your tag. So do a greater than symbol and then type whatever we want the hyperlink to say. So here. And now we need to close our anchor tag. So do less than /a greater than. Perfect. So now this is a HTML link that will say the word here, and the link itself will be the URL for the model-driven app plus the ID of the record that was submitted.
Will it be obvious to click the word here? Like, will it be blue or something?
Yep, it'll automatically be blue and underlined for Diane.
Okay, great.
So go down to the send an email action, get rid of the word here, and put the outputs of the compose action from your dynamic content. So
How do I do that?
Just scroll down a little bit and then search for outputs.
Oh, there we go. Right here.
Yep. So this will say, if it's ABC company, this will say you have a new grant from ABC company. Click here to view the application.
Cool.
That's nice.
To test this out, can we go to advanced options and let's also CC yourself so we can make sure that it actually worked.
Do I add the CC in here?
Bottom left, click show advanced options, and then you should see a CC parameter. Yep. There we go. Beautiful. All right, so save this. And then once it's saved, we'll do a manual test. So click test up in the top right, and then we're going to test this manually. And luckily, we've already got a record already queued up for you. So just go to your website. It says apply for a grant, and you've already got this set to submit. So just click done.
Or I need to keep moving these the faces, they keep getting in my way. Okay. Submit. So it was done.
So because we've just modified a record that was in the table, we've modified the status column to say submit. If you go to your flow in your first browser tab.
So this should say submit or be loaded with a submission date, which that's interesting. It already has a date for submission date.
Well, is that the right one? There it is at the bottom. See?
Oh, interesting. I guess I was in a different one. Okay.
Yeah. So go to your first browser tab. I just want to see if that flow ran, or your second browser tab, actually. So it was not able to get a row by ID. Let's see. Counts. Let's look at this. The resolved string values may not be null or empty. Okay. So there was that application was not linked to an account because you signed in with Azure AD and you're not linked with an account. So
I need to remember my password is what you're saying?
Either that, or we can fudge it. We can go into your contact record that when you signed in with Active Directory, and we can just assign you to an account.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, let's do that.
Because your actual grantees will always be part of an account.
Assign me right here to a grantee. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
So should I apply for a new grant then?
Yes, but there might be a caching issue with the Power Page. It might fail again. Let's try this. Close out of that browser tab for the apply for a grant.
Oh, is this one?
Yep.
Okay.
So one tab to your left. Click the sync. Hopefully that will flush the cache. And then go to preview. Let's try to force it to wake up. Can you sign out and then sign back in just in case? All right, now apply for a grant.
wish there was a way just to come over and like jump to this tab.
I know. There definitely is a way with some custom web development, not out of the box. All right, now go to your second browser tab. There's still no grantee there. So,
well, I think, it's a little confusing. So Diane actually is the one who assigns this.
okay.
Because we wanted to make sure that, well, it's a long story, but yeah. So this is actually a different field here. She assigns this grantee. So this is the one that we just submitted.
Okay. So Diane's doing that manually behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what if they like in their one sitting submit the record before the grantee has been determined by Diane? Maybe we just shouldn't include that in the email to Diane.
Oh, I got an email here. Let me see what this says. Oh, it's a different email.
Isn't there a name on the grant?
Well, I'm trying to remember here. So the field where the grantee puts their name, that is just on the application. That's not actually stored in our accounts table. I just remembered that.
The only way for someone to submit a grant is for them to be signed in, right?
Yeah.
And when someone signs in, are you they go into the contact table? Are you assigning them to accounts once they're in the contact table?
Diane does that once we receive a grant.
Okay.
Once the grant actually gets submitted, she reviews the application and then she assigns it to the proper grantee.
All right. So for right now, just for time's sake, can we go back to the flow and let's just not tell Diane at this point who it's for?
It's from that's fine.
They do type it in, right? There's a text field we can include.
Yeah.
So go to edit.
Is it on the grant table or where is that, Mark?
Where they type it in?
Yeah.
It would be, let me just get the name of it. So where they type it in, that is called Grant Application Organization Name.
Okay. So go to your second browser tab, go to edit up in the top right. For right now, let's leave the get a row by ID. We don't want to delete it, because you might want to add it later, depending on how the logic shakes out. But let's go to that compose action and let's tell it to just proceed in the flow, whether the step above fails or not. So if there's not an account at the time that this flow runs, we still want this flow to run and Diane to get an email. Click the three dots next to compose and go to configure run after. So we don't care if the step above fails or succeeds or what happens. We just want it to continue the flow. So do is successful or has failed or skipped or timed out. Let's just cover our bases here. So no matter what happens, we want this next step to run. And then go down to where we've referenced that account name. So you have a new grant from account name.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of that. And let's just put in the field that they typed in for time's sake.
Organization. Oh, we need the logical name for this, right?
You can search for it. So grant application organization name. So just search your dynamic content for grant application. There it is. Perfect.
All right.
Now save this. And because we've already had this flow fail on us, we can do an automatic test. So go to test up in the top right and then choose automatically with a recently used trigger from 1 minute ago or however long ago, 5 minutes ago. And then click test. And because we've added that run after configuration, you'll see that the get a row by ID fails, but it still proceeds in the flow.
Ran successfully.
So now
I got the email.
Okay.
I'm going to share.
I know let's have you share that window of just the email.
And it put the, hang on. And it put the organization name in there too.
Nice. Now click that link. Okay. So you click that link and it opened up right to this particular grant.
Yep.
Sweet. And because we've set it up as an environment variable, when you move this solution to the prod environment, when you import that solution, it's going to ask you, hey, you have these environment variables. What are the values in the prod environment? So you'll just change that app URL, that grant application URL to the actual prod URL. And that way, when Diane clicks that link, it'll open up the prod app.
Okay. That's awesome.
Sweet. All right. So we got one thing done. There were some other things that you wanted to go through in the email you sent over. I think there was a couple other things, but what's the most pressing here that we might be able to cover in the next couple minutes?
I think we'd like to auto delete any dormant applications. If you notice, let me go back to this tab. You can see a lot of people have gone into or I guess this is our dev environment, but if you were to go into the prod environment, you would see we have about 4 or 5 applications submitted. And this portal's been live for maybe, I don't know, 4 weeks, but there's a whole bunch of rows that are blank. So it appears that people are going on and starting applications or maybe even just creating an account, but then they're not following through with an application and actually submitting it. And so I anticipate there to be just kind of a lot of clutter in this app. I don't think, I don't think everybody who started an application is actually going to be submitting one. So what we want to do is automatically delete anything that has not been submitted after a certain amount of time.
Okay. Why don't we do this? You could do this with a flow. You could just have a recurring flow that runs every week and finds the ones that are still in a draft status and older than a certain period of time and just delete them or archive them. A quicker way to do it though might be to set up like a bulk deletion job in the advanced area of Power Apps. So we can base these bulk deletion jobs off of a view. Can you go to your solution and let's create a specific view of the grants table that would just include records we want deleted.
Okay.
So if you go to your tables and the grant table, and let's create a new view here. So under data experiences on the right, and then new view. And let's call this unsubmitted grants to delete.
Do we call them stale grants?
Dormant grants, maybe.
Whatever you want here. You can always change the name of the view.
Yeah, unsubmitted grants to be deleted.
And then uncheck that AI generated column suggestions and then create. So we don't actually care about the columns in this view. What we really care is about how this data is filtered in this view. Go over to the far right and let's set some filtering. So we want grants where the status is saved. So add a row and type in grant status or find it here on the list. I think it was called grant status or submission status, one of those.
Sorry, it's not.
The searching here is kind of bad. Just click the drop down and we'll just choose it.
Okay. Application submission status.
Equals
saved.
And then add another row. Create it on. And then look at our operators here. And
on or before.
Let's see what other dynamic options we have. Maybe last year. This way it's more programmatic at the time that you run it. Or older than, how about this? Older than X years?
Yeah, or I think even X months.
Okay.
Ron, weren't we talking about basically having things deleted if it is past one grant cycle?
Yeah, it'd actually be the end of the following quarter. I think 6 months.
Yeah, I think 6 months is good. So just 6.
And then click OK. Perfect. So now in dev, you don't have any records that satisfy those conditions. But what you would do is if you go up to the gearbox in the top right, actually, we'll save and publish first. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. All right, now go to the gearbox in the top right, and we're going to go to advanced settings. Half of this VM is just waiting for stuff to load. All right, click the down arrow next to settings at the top, and we're going to go to data management under the system column. So third column and then third option down. And go to bulk record deletion. And we're going to create a new bulk deletion job. So up in the top left, and then click next. And then we're going to look for grants. So instead of accounts, look for grants. We can delete based on a view. So if you click that use saved view, you should see your unsubmitted grants for deletion, and then click next. And then we can tell it to run every 30 days or every 60 days. It would probably be every, 180 days since we're doing 6 months.
Yeah.
So check that box and say, run this job every 180 days. And then if you want, you can send an email to yourself when the job is finished and then click next and then submit. So now you've got an automatic bulk deletion set up based off of a view showing you all the stale, unsubmitted grants.
That's awesome. That was easier than I thought.
Yeah. Yes. That's what we aim for here. So,
would the first one run just 6 months from today or 180 days from today then?
No, there was a starting, when you created that job, there was like, it'll start this day and this time. And I just didn't check to see what that was, but, yeah, it'll run.
If it ran today, it wouldn't do anything because we don't have anything in there that's over 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. All right. What else? There was, you wanted to be able to track, like when emails come in. Last time we met, Mark, we already set up your email configuration so that you can send emails from your model-driven app and the system will track those conversations and store those in the note table. But you're saying sometimes you get emails just unsolicited and you want to track those in your model-driven app, right?
Yeah, I think, Ron, you had brought this up in a situation where maybe we get an email that's related to the grant, but it didn't come through the grant portal. We might want to forward it to the portal and have it associate itself with the grant. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Luckily, there's also a really easy way to do that. There's the Dynamics 365 add-in for Outlook. There's a little bit of configuration that goes with that, but maybe it's already set up on your side. I'm not sure, but we can check. Mark, can you pull up, without sharing your inbox, can you pull up an email in Outlook and one that just has some meaningless stuff in it?
Yeah, I can just pull up the email, the new test org email that I just got. Will that work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Oh, and share it, I assume.
Yeah, please. So let's say you wanted to track this and tag this to a grant. If you click the icon, see the top right of this, not the ellipses menu, but the little waffle menu.
Gotta move your faces again right here.
Yep. And yeah, you don't have it right now. Can you click add apps? And if this doesn't work, I'll just show you what it looks like on my side. And then I'll send you the documentation for how to get this app set up. So we won't include this in the recording, I don't think, but can you unshare and share your entire screen for just a second?
Yeah.
Here's an email from you, Mark. Here's that waffle menu that you had as well. And then once you get this set up, there's Dynamics 365.
Okay.
It's asking me to just sign in. So I can set this email and I can set the regarding field. The regarding field could be an account, it could be a contact. In your case, it could be a grant. So for this, I'm just going to make this easy. I'm going to set this to you. I'm going to track this against your record in Dynamics.
Could it be a Teams? Could it be a Teams team?
Maybe. It all depends on, it has to be a Dataverse table. In your case, it would just be regarding a grant.
Okay.
So if I was to open up your contact record in Dynamics, this email will be there. And it's all just built in to Outlook here. So there's nothing crazy you need to do there.
So we would just go to that Dynamics and then we would be able to search through the grant records, and then just basically tag whatever grant it's regarding. And then from whatever we do with the email from then on, whether it's deleted or filed or archived or whatever, it would still be in our grants database.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Got it. Awesome. Is there anything else, guys? I know we're a couple minutes over, but...
I mean, those were the three things we talked about hitting on today. Okay. I think those were the high priorities.
Perfect. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll let you guys go. But thank you so much. It was great to see you guys.
Yeah, you too, Nate.
Look forward to hearing from you again.
I set up a session with you on Monday, by the way, on another matter. So
okay,
we'll see you on Monday again.
I'll see you Monday. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. If that style of learning seems to resonate with you and you want to get started with your own virtual mentoring sessions with an expert from Pragmatic Works, be sure to click the link below in the description to learn more about that service and how you can get started today. Thanks again so much for watching. Hopefully some of these topics helped you in your day-to-day, and we hope you have a great day. Bye, everyone.